Okay, good morning and welcome to Daf Yevamos. We're learning Daf Nun test number 59. I met my friend today, a new friend I have. His name is Yaakov Mann. He's from Manchester, England. In fact, when he grew up, his name was Perzovitz or whatever, but like Goldman. But because they love Manchester, not just Manchester, they love Manchester United, right? They love Manchester United. They loved, um, they loved the team. They were big fans of Manchester United team. So they just changed the name to Manchester was too long.
I think you need to go back to the.
Come,
Daf
Yaakov. I have to see you. I'm so excited. A new person has joined right with those call who I'm sort of part of. His name is Yaakov Man. This is really him. The photo of Asma is really Yaakov Man.
I see me and I see you.
Yeah. So
See the Rav and the Talmud.
Yeah, you already my Talmud? He became my Talmud. Yaakov Man.
Just
you know what Manchester United is? You're from England? Your parents from England?
No.
Oh no, you're not. Where are your parents from?
From America.
America. I'm so excited. Actually, the first guy who actually speaks somewhat of a fluent English in this call. Most of the people have to speak in Hebrew. And where are your parents from?
So my father is from Boston and my mother is from New York.
Okay. All right. So you're a Knicks fan or a Celtics fan?
Torah fan.
Me and Yaakov were having a discussion about. I told him that I'm unique, that I'm a Talmud Chacham, and I'm a Aretz also, right? So he feels that if you're a Talmud Chacham, you for sure know about the world, right? How would you describe yourself? Are you a Talmud Chacham and I'm a Aretz? Which one are you closer to?
It's like in Leila Seder, there's 4 banim, right?
Yeah.
So some people say all the 4. We have all the 4. And
okay.
We have Chacham, we have Tam, we have Roshan, we have Menisha.
But what are you closest to right now? Are you a Talmud Chacham or a Talmud Chacham or Aretz? What do you know about the world? You know anything about the world? What kind of shirt are you wearing over here? Who's this guy in your shirt? What brand are you wearing over here? Let me see that.
It's maybe something from there.
Something
from the country.
From Manchester.
See the horse.
The horse, yeah, that's polo, but it's not exactly the one. Looks like he's riding a bull over there.
A bull.
That's from Texas or something like that? What? This guy's actually involved in the stock market. He's bullish on the stock market. What are you doing, Yaakov? Yaakov, today is Yom HaAtzmaut, right?
What is that?
You don't believe in Yom HaAtzmaut. Okay, it's a holiday that they celebrate in Israel about, the Day of Independence, where they declared independence of Israel 70-something years ago. Yom HaAtzmaut is a big holiday in Israel for Chilonim for sure, and for a lot of Dati people also. Charedim are not so into Yom HaAtzmaut over here. I was in the Makolet this morning, right? You would expect most stores are closed, right, during Yom HaAtzmaut here in Israel. It's really a national holiday. This is the biggest national holiday of the year.
Makolet is food.
It's food, I understand, but all the other stores are closed. So the owner of Makolet, he says to me, Chag Sameach this morning, And Haredi people don't really say Chag Sameach. They look the other way. They Dafka don't want to celebrate Chag Sameach because it's a Zioni thing. It's a government thing. They don't want to look at it. So I said Chag Sameach back. He was joking around with me. He knows that I'm more, open. I talk about these things. But so I said to him, Potchim Chanut B'Chag? You open a store B'Chag? He had nothing to say to that. He was taken aback a little bit. But it is Yom HaAtzmaut today in Israel. So where's your Israeli? He's wearing white and blue. His bull. Oh, he's wearing blue pants. All right, blue pants. He has a blue bull, a rider over there, and looks like a nice shirt. You have like that. Let me see the brand of your shirt.
It's Ferror.
Ferror. It's Ferror. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I wear Brooks Brothers. It's the same. I got a sheep over here. He's got a bull. So.
And what's on top of the sheep? It's like a machte.
It's a ribbon. They're lowering because it's made out of the suits are made out of wool at least. So wool is from sheep. Anyway, thank you, Yaakov, for joining us. You can come on more times. I like talking to people over here. And just because I introduced you as Yaakov Mann from Manchester, who is the star of Manchester United right now? Who is the most popular man in the world? He is the most popular man in the world. He has the most followers on Instagram. You know his
Putin.
name? No, he's a sports star. He plays soccer for Manchester United.
No idea.
You ever heard of Cristiano Ronaldo?
It's from
Ronaldo!
Spain, no?
What?
From Spain.
He actually from Portugal, but he plays for an English. He plays in Premier League in England.
Mhm.
Did you know that professionally?
Now
Nationally, he played.
moved there.
Yeah,
Something
but
new.
nationally in the World Cup, he'll play for Portugal. But he's not from Spain.
Mhm.
So who do you think is better, Messi or Ronaldo?
The one that moved the Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola? What are you talking about?
He had a bottle of Coca-Cola and he took water instead of the Coca-Cola.
What are you referring to? What are you talking about?
Some big, either
What is this, like a commercial or like
And then Coca-Cola lost a lot of money because he didn't drink the Coke and he took the water.
I don't know about this incident.
So check it out.
All right, we're gonna check it out. We'll check out this incident. Yaakov, man, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us today.
Keep up your good job.
All right, you can stay for the show. He asked me if the show is live. I said if you sit down here, it'll be live. All right, okay, go enjoy. Speak English. Spread the love of English to the fellow members of the Kola. All right, thanks a lot. All right, let's get started. We're on the bottom of Nun Cheramud Beis over here. Nisarmun is Garshu, second to last line. Bo Mine Rabbi Chia Bar Yosef Mishmuel Kohen Gadol Shekidesh Zaktana Ubagra Tachtov. Let's say you have a Kohen Gadol. You have a Kohen Gadol. He's Makadesh, a woman who's a Ktana, right? She's below the age of 12 and 1 year. Ubagra Tachtov. Before, he waited a long time to get married, so he waited more than 6 months, maybe 7 months, 8 months, a year. She was a Ktana. She was 4 years old. He waited till she was 15 years old. 11 years they were engaged, right? And she became Bulgaris. Bulgaris is someone, after she becomes 12 years and 1 day old, and she has 2 pubic hairs, she becomes a Nara. After 6 months of being a Nara, she becomes a Bulgaris. This is the halacha. So 12 and a half around, she becomes Bulgaris. The Gemara is going to say later, when she becomes a Bulgaris, her body changes a little bit. She loses part of her hymen, her sulim. Hymen is it's like a piece of flesh inside the vagina that when a woman loses her virginity, it's usually pierced, results in blood coming out, would ask a woman to her husband. So he says, now he wasn't together with her, right? The Gemara's question is, let's see on Team and Aleph, the Gemara's question is, Mao. Is he allowed to marry her, right? He didn't marry her. So Bagras, we're going to see later, changes her goof, that not her complete hymen is removed, but part of the hymen becomes changed or removed. I don't know medically if this is backed up, but it doesn't get completely removed, but it lessens or it's not as thick. When the Torah says, one of the isurim of a Kohen Gadol, we're going to learn today about this Iyum Ben Siyam. We're going to talk more about, there's a special mitzvah and an Av Isser of a Kohen Gadol marrying someone who's a Ba'ula, who's non-virgin. He has to marry a virgin, a Kohen Gadol. So if she's not a virgin, he can't marry her. And there's a mitzvah to marry a virgin. We're going to discuss the difference in the mitzvah. There's two things. There's a mitzvah and there's an Isser essay to marry someone who's not a virgin. So here the question is, Basar Nisuin Azlina, when it says, and the Torah says, Kim Sula Ma'ama Vikach Isha, right? So she has to be a complete Basula, we're going to learn. She can't even be a Bulgaris according to one Tana. So, according to that Tana, you can't marry Bulgaris. You go after the Erisin, and it says Lo Yikach, he can't marry someone who's not a Basula, so he married, when he did Erisin, he already did it when she was a Ktana. So now it doesn't matter, he can go on the Nisuin. Or do we say that the Isser of marrying someone who's not a virgin is the marriage, the consummation of marriage, being together, and therefore they didn't do that yet, so therefore it would be usher for him to consummate his marriage. I'm like, Tani Su, he answered back, then we learned it, our Mishnah, Nun Vavam and Beis, and Sarmul and his Garshu, and Asuam, Psulos. If a forbidden woman, Almana, right, a widow, married a Kohen Gadol, and they were only Mureses, they were only, right, so it says Mina Eris, Mina Nisuin, if they were married, she was married to the Kohen Gadol, so he was together with her. So that passed her, it's an bias isser, it passed her, made her a zona, and halala, and she can't eat truma anymore. I mean, Eris and Sheris, but if they only got engaged, and then they got divorced, or the husband died, So she biksheros to the kuna. Amrle l'shavi chalala kamibayile. He said in terms of making a chalala, right? If you do a bia sister, almana marries a kohen gadol, a widow marries a kohen gadol, a non-virgin marries a kohen gadol. So in that case, it's dependent on the bia and the cohabitation of being together. That makes her a halal. And if they only were murestas, they only engaged, that didn't make her a halal. Here we're talking about a different thing, right? It's not. It says on the pasuk almana. He can't marry an almana lo yika. That's a lav. Can't marry a lav. Here we're talking about the Isser essay, the Mrs. essay. Let's just read the psukim so we have it clear. Pasuk Yud Gimel. This week's parsha is Parsha's Emor. It's amazing. It works out the Parsha's Emor this week. The first pasuk, Parachav Aleph, pasuk Yud Gimel, it says, "V'hu isha b'sula yikach," a mitzvah to marry a woman who's a b'sula, a kohen gadol. And this is almana grusha v'chalal et zona as elo yikach. Can't marry four ladies. An almana is one. A widow is one of them. Kim b'sula miyama v'yikach isha. It repeats this thing. He must marry a b'sula. So the first, I'm giving away a little bit of the events. The first pasuk is a mitzvah to marry a b'sula. And the second pasuk is that Kim Besula Miyamav Yikach Isha, it's Lavaba Mikal essay, right? It's an essay, he has to marry a Psula, but it implies that there's an Isser to marry someone who's not a Psula. So that's what we're talking about over here, right? By marrying this Bogeres, Who Isha Psula Yikach. This pasuk, right? The first pasuk, he has to marry a Psula, my Kicha de Kiddushin Ba'inan, or Kicha de Nisuin Ba'inan. Is it referring to getting married? The Kiddushin is called Kicha, right? And he did Kicha when she was a Psula, when she was a Ktana. Oh, Kicha, the Nisuin, we're talking about Kicha, and the pasuk is talking about when he marries her and consummates the marriage, she has to be a complete psula. She has to be a psula, and she wasn't here, she's a Bulgaris. I'm like, Hanami Dani Sua. So he said, we also have proof somewhere else. Iris Almana V'Nismana Leos Kohen Gadol. The Brisa says he's a Ma'arhi and gets engaged in Almana, right? As a Kohen. Now he wasn't a Kohen Gadol yet, and then he gets appointed, Kohen Gadol dies, he becomes appointed to become the new Kohen Gadol. Yechnos, the Brisa says he can marry her, even though he didn't consummate the marriage. She's consummating the marriage to someone who's in Almana. It says Yikach Isha. The extra word Isha is an extra word. You don't have to tell me Isha. We know he's marrying a woman. Okay, we're not going to talk about marrying, whatever. Okay, we're not going to. Yikach Isha. Most men marry a woman. Yikach Isha. Hachanam Iksiv Isha. So the Gemara says, Hachanam Iksiv Isha. So, just like you apply Isha over there, Isha is a reboy to include, in this case, where he does Erisin, so therefore, Isha, he's allowed to go ahead and marry her, because at the time of Erisin, he wasn't a Kohen Gadol. So also, Isha should have come to include the second case also, where she was a Ketana. Even though he was a Kohen Gadol, she was a Ketana, he was allowed to do Erisin. And then he did Nisuin, afterwards, it should be okay also. So where it says, Achas v'lo shtayim. We can only include one case. We can't include both cases. So the Gemara says, Oma Rois. Why do you include one case and answer the other case? Hi, Shani Gufa, hello, Shani Gufa. He says, when you become a Geras, her body changes. Her body changes. This is an important thing. She loses part of the psulim over there. So therefore, there's more reason to ask her in that case. However, when he was a regular Kohen and he comes to appointed to Kohen Gadol, he did the Erisin when he was a regular Kohen, nothing of her body changed, so therefore there's more reason to be makel in that case. The Mishnah says, Kohen Gadol Yisa Almana, Kohen Gadol can't marry an Almana. We saw that in the pasuk. There's a lot in the Torah. Bein Almana min Eretz, bein Almana Nesuin. Whether she was a widow she only Mekudeshes to a different man, or whether she was when she was married to the man and then he died. V'lo Yisa has a Bogeres. Now this new thing, you can't marry a Bogeres like we talked about. Rezer Shimon Machshir Bogeres. Obviously, we were talking about before, only is according to the Tanakama. Rezer and Shimon say Bogeres is perfectly mutter, right? She has part of her psulim. She doesn't lose her complete hymen, so therefore he's allowed to marry her. It's still considered Isha Psula Yikach. Below Yisas Mukaseitz. Everyone agrees he can't marry a Mukaseitz. Mukaseitz is someone who lost their entire psulim, but through an accident. For example, a piece of wood got lodged in their vagina and it knocked out their hymen completely. Everyone agrees in that case she lost her complete hymen, so therefore she's not a psula. Can't marry her. The Gemara says, Tana Rabban, Almana lo yikach. It says in the Torah, you can't marry an Almana. Bein Almana min Eretz, bein Almana min Nesuin, whether she was widowed from engagement or widowed from marriage. Pshita. It's obvious. Almana is an almana, right? He was Mekudeshes, she makes her an almana. You would think you learn from Tamar. By Tamar it says almana. She was an almana from Erva, right there. Her husband's died. There she was married to them, so you think only almana means, when it says in Torah almana, it only means from an Nesuin, from when she was previously married. Kamash Malan, therefore the Chiddush is, that's why the Brisa said, even when Eris said, maybe we should say that's true. Like, we should learn from Tamar, just like a Tamar only min ha nisuin, so it's only min nisuin. The Gemara says, Dumya the Grusha. It compares in the Pasuk Almana to a Grusha. Ma Grusha, ben min nisuin, and Eris, a Grusha is also to a Kohen, a regular Kohen, and that wouldn't matter, right? Whether she's divorced, she's considered divorced, even if they're only engaged. Because once you have kedushin, you already need a gerushin to remove the kedushin. Af almana b'min eresin, and assume so to almana, it's linked in the pasuk. The hekesh in the pasuk, we would assume it also means even she was only engaged, the husband died, she'd be called an almana. Well, you said it's a bogeres. You can't marry a bogeres, right? Where she mixes as a shlum. Tanarubana, but who yishab psula yikah. This is the first pasuk. Yevamos. Prat lebogeres shakala psula dire mayor. Right, that wouldn't include a Bulgaris. Rameir says a Bulgaris is okay for him to marry. That's right. Shimon Machshir, probably Bulgaris, he would not be allowed to marry Bulgaris because she lost her psulim. Divrei Meir. That's right. Shimon Machshir Bulgaris. Shimon we saw in the Mishnah, they say Bulgaris is okay because she has part of her psulim. But my comment, the Gemara is going to explain the argument. Rabbi Meir savar psula fila mixes psula mashma. Could have just said the word psula, but who isha psula yikach, right? So that would have implied, even if she has mixed psula, even if she's a Bulgaria, she has part of her hymen, that would be okay. Mashma psula. Why did it say the extra word yud hey at the end? Yud adika kol psulim. That tells me that if she has to have kol psulim, even if she's missing part of her psulim, she's a Bulgaria, she wouldn't be kosher the kuna psula, and the extra bays, right? The third extra letter in the pasuk, the second extra letter in the pasuk. The kedarka in shelo kedarka lo. She only would become apostle to the kahuna if she was neveles, right? If she had bia with somebody else in the normal way, meaning from the front. If she had anal sex, then so she wouldn't become apostle to the kahuna. Rabbi Shimon Sabri, they hold psula. If it just said the word psula shlema mashma, it means complete virgin. Psula, the extra yud, I feel it mixes psula comes to include even if she has part of the psulim, that would be okay also. The psuleha, the extra base, as you call psuleha, kayam and bein kedarka ben shalok kedarka, that comes to exclude someone, even has anal sex, even if she comes from the back, the man comes from the back, that would pass her to the gunas. They argue about two things, Rameir and Rav Shimon. Rameir holds, right, that he passes a Bulgaris, but he's machshir if shalok kedarka, the bio shalok kedarka, and Rav Shimon say the opposite in both things. They say that a Bulgaris technically would be okay, but a Shalok Kedarka would be a problem. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rab, Nivala Shalok Kedarka, Psula LaKahuna. He issues a ruling on this. If she was Nivela Shalok Kedarka from the back, she's puzzled to the Kahuna. Like Rav Shimon, Mesi Rava, Velosi Elisha. This Bryce is talking about someone who's raped, a woman who's raped. If you rape a woman, one of the mitzvahs in the Torah, you have to marry her. The Torah forces you to get married to her. So the Bryce says it only is an isha that actually is fit to be married to her. But if he rapes a woman, a Kohen Gadol rapes an almana, or a Kohen rapes a grusha v'chalutza, so therefore he's not raw, you can't stay married to them, so therefore there would be no mitzvah to marry them. What's the case of this Bryce? You raped her in the regular way from the front. My area mishum almana. Why do the Bryce have to exclude an almana? Typically mishum dehavile ba'ula. Right? And a Kohen Gadol not only can't marry an almana, he can't marry a woman who previously had sex with somebody. So therefore it was kedarka, so then don't have to say because of almana, you can say because it's a mitzvah of isha b'suleh yikach, so you can't marry her, which just carries an Lavbam kal ese kim besulam me'amav yikach. She's not a virgin. El lav shalok kedarka must be talking about that he raped her from the back. Shalok kedarka mishum almana mishum ba'ula lo. The only reason the Bryce says he can't marry her is mishum almana. Ba'ula, she's not considered ba'ula. So you see from the back does not make her does not make her considered to be a ba'ula. So this would be a question on Rav. Rav says she's psula, but we see it here over here. A ba'ula from the back would be kshera. So the Gemara answers for Rav, top of Nun Teramad Beis, Hamani Rabbi Meir he. This brisa that says, right, Almana, doesn't say Ba'ula, is Rabbi Meir he. Rabbi Meir says that a psula is kshera, and Rav paskin like Rav and Shimon. The Gemara says, Rav Dama Karav he was paskin like Rav Elazar. The Gemara says, if he paskin like Rav Elazar, or if he really holds like Rav Elazar, might you're mishum Ba'ula. Why does he have to say that she's apostle mishum Ba'ula, typically the Havile Zona? Right? He says a woman who gets Nivela Shaloka Darka, she's a Bu'ula, and she's also the Kuna. There's another Isser. It says in the Torah, a lav, not just a lav of Uncle Essay, which carries an essay, but even a lav. It says Zona. A Zona, a woman is a prostitute. A prostitute normally means someone who's Nivela, someone who's usher to them. A man, Mamzeris, Yisrael is Boal Mamzeris. Right? So he makes her into a Zona. She's a Zona, she's a harlot, she's a prostitute, did an Isser in the Torah. Elazar says, you're arguing on that. Elazar says, the Amar Elazar, Panaya Bal Pnuya Shaloshe Misha. So it's more machmer. He says, a young man and a young lady who are not married, this occurs very often. They're not married at all. It's not usher to, or a man is not usher to a woman if she's a nida, right? She hasn't gone to the mikvah. Maybe there will be an isser, but I don't know if that'll be enough to make her a zona. But he says, even if I guess she went to the mikvah, you're not married, you two non-married, a man and a woman hook up. So that would already make the woman a zona. That makes her a zona. There's only realize shita. We don't really pass it like this. If you don't do it for marriage, you just do it for enjoyment, right? To have a good time. So it makes her a zona. So she's already a zona. Forget about ba'ula, and that's a lav. I'm Rav Yosef going shenivala behema. So now Rav Yosef changes it around. He says we're talking about a case where in this brisa where she was sort of raped by an animal, not a person. Tahasa mishum bu'ula ika mishum zona leka. Sorry, Rav was talking about she was nivela shaloka darka. She was nivelas from behind by a behema. That's what Rav was talking about. So there's a problem bu'ula, but there's no problem with zona because zona. The Gemara is assuming having bia with an animal does not make you a zona, like even according to Elazar. Abai argues that one of shachi ba'ula havya, if she's considered a ba'ula from behema shaloka dark, a zona nami havya would make her a zona technically according to Elazar. If zona lo havya, if she would make her a zona, ba'ula nami lo havya, we would assume bia with an animal, especially from behind, is not considered a bia. Only if people is considered a bia. Shaloka dark. Maybe you'll tell me what. That having it be of an animal from behind is like a piece of wood getting lodged in her anus, a tochus, which would make her, according to Rav, a ba'ula. Right? There's no, every woman sometimes, even if she uses tissues or toilet paper, it's called a tzror, right? It's hard stuff. You use it to wipe yourself. So just like a piece of wood getting lodged in her tochus would be that. So therefore, she goes to the bathroom, she wipes herself, she would be, if you assume that mukaseitz even applies from the behind, from the tochus, so therefore, there were never, no woman would be kshera to the Kohen Gadol. She'd be a mukaseitz. And Rav certainly wouldn't say that. El Amar Rabbi Zeira b'ma'enes. He must be talking about, Rav was talking about a case of ma'enes, meaning a woman aktana. Right? She refused. She was married off by her mother or brother, midrabbanan, and then she refused to continue staying married. Then which came with gedola. So therefore, she got married. She was nivela shaloka darka. So therefore, she only has the problem of ba'ula, but she has no problem of zona. Even according to Elazar, no problem of zona because it was heter. It was l'shem ishus. It wasn't l'shem znus. Amar of Simi Barchia nivula lebehema ksher lakuna. Simi Barchia says another halacha. If she's nivelas, it gives a definitive ruling on what we're talking about. If she's nivelas to a behema ksher lakuna, doesn't make her a ba'ula. Tanya nami hachi nivel l'misha eno isha alpisha b'skila ksher lakuna. Even if she has committed sodomy with an animal, even though technically there was an edim in hasra, there was an edim and warning given to her, she'd technically be liable for stoning. She's still ksher lakuna because it's not considered a bia, it's not considered a ba'ula. Kiyasa Rav Dimi Amar Maisa Bariva Achas Pehitilo Shaisa Mechaberes Abayas. There was a certain girl, young girl. She was sweeping her house. Rava Kelev Kufri Machare. A certain type of dog went and committed sodomy with her from behind. The Yachshir Rebbe Laguna. Rebbe was mashir to the kahuna. He said it doesn't pass with the kahuna. Amar Shmuel the Kohen Gadol. Not only do a regular Kohen, even the Kohen Gadol. So where says May Rebbe Kohen Gadol me have a Rebbe lived after Kohen Gadol, and we lived after in the ADs. He didn't live in the BCs. He lived after the destruction of Beis Hamikdash, after 70 AD. Ella Ruya the Kohen Gadol. It was all he said is technically, hypothetically, she'd be fit to Kohen Gadol if there was Kohen Gadol. Amalei Rava. Mefarkin Ravashi Mina. They asked Ravashi Mina Milsa Damar Rabbanan Ein Znos LeBehema. How do you know, like we said before, that it's not considered a zona, right? If a woman is with a behema, it doesn't make her a zona. The Ksiv L'Savi Esna Zona Mechir Kelev. It says one of the things you can't bring as karbanos, and this are in the Torah, that if you give an esnan zona, you give a prostitute payment, you give in the form of an animal, or mechir kelev, or you exchange an animal for a dog, a sheep for a dog. You want to buy a dog, so you give him a sheep, or you give a woman a sheep or a cow for payment for being a prostitute. Those are possible for karbanos v'snan, and we learn in the Mishnah and Bab Mansiyah, I think esnan kelev mechir zona mutarin. But if it's the opposite, meaning you gave her a dog for payment for prostitution, mechir zona, right, and you gave her exchange for a zona, you paid her for being a zona. Those are mutarin. Shenemar gam shneim shnayim v'lo arba. It says shneim. Only those two cases. Only esnan zona mechir kelev, but it's the opposite, right? Mechir zona would be where the animal committed where sodomy committed. Gam shneim shnayim v'lo arba. So that's a case. It comes to exclude a case of sodomy, right? That's what it says. Esnan zona na mechir kelev. Meaning the explanation of esnan kelev, hire for a dog would be not that you give a dog to a prostitute. I'm sorry. Esnan kelev would be you gave something to a dog. I don't know. There was the owner of a dog. The owner of the dog says you can be together with the dog, but you have to give a sheep to pay me. So that would be esnan kelev. The Gemara is saying that's not included. Exchange for the sheep, or prostitution to a dog, even though you gave payment of a sheep, that wouldn't be possible for a korban. So you see, that's not called znus. If it was called znus, then it would be the same thing. It would be esnan zona. V'lo arba. All right, we're going to stop here. That's the end of the share for today. This Bryce is going to discuss something new. Not completely new, but unrelated to what we're talking about now. I hope you enjoyed today's share. I did come out with a new episode of Glock Kosher Money. Came out yesterday, the third and final episode that Rosh Shmuel Without, where we basically went in depth in his stock portfolio, how he came about to having such a large stock portfolio of roughly $900,000, close to $1 million portfolio. He uses it to pay his kollel. How it dwindled down, the story of how he took his money out and he fired the financial advisor that he had hired and managed the stock portfolio by himself, to which he does this day until he's still doing this day. He's managing it by himself, and he believes that he's better than the hedge funds and the professionals. And apparently he can prove it. He has 29%, 27% returns every year. Hedge funds probably not going to return you more than 15%. So he's redoubling the hedge funds. How the heck is he doing it? The Rosh Kollel, he listens a little bit, some financial advice offered on podcasts. If you're interested in something like that, check it out. It's very enlightening and informative interview. We'll see you in Yom Ben Sion, and we're going to talk about more of the exact definition of Ba'ula, the Kohen Gadol. He not only has to marry a virgin. We'll talk about that. See you there. Bye.